Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Let me start off by thanking DJ DN3 and S Jacques for coming through on the Cash App. And I want to thank S Jacques also for coming through with the links with which he's come, as well as Senor Kanga for coming through with the links with which he has come. There was one that, well, it hit home because it was in Mississippi. I think it was actually in a place called Bynum, Mississippi, or Byram, Mississippi, one of the two. And S Jacques sent me this link. In this link, a Mississippi mother during record-breaking cold for which the Gulf Coast is not famous, actually, went into a Walmart with her baby wearing nothing but a diaper, and the baby was shaking. And she was very unapologetic and ratchet in her attitude. And she had to twerk on there while being recorded. And the Walmart employee that recorded, in order to prove that they weren't doing anything wrong, except obeying the law and looking out for the welfare of a child, was fired after 5 years. What this tells me, as not just someone looking from outside of the United States, but as someone that grew up in the U.S. and lived there and worked there, this says to me that, frankly, that's what America is. I know that it's become that because, like I said, I was born and raised there. And I didn't leave there until I was almost 40 years old. So here I am looking at, and I recently crossed my 10th anniversary in the kingdom living here. So I have been here 10 years and some change, meaning it's less than a month over 2 years. And I have sat up and I've witnessed how it is I've witnessed how the U.S. changed just from when I lived there up until now. And nobody really wants to, Assalamu alaikum, wants to fess up to what the U.S. has become. Nobody really wants to think about the changes that have happened over time, because it's harder to notice when you sat up and you've watched it over time. But right now, what's going on is that the United States has gone through changes that when you sit back and you look at them in intervals and not over time, you see the direction in which it is headed, and it's bad. She lost her job for recording. If she did not record, then boom, she could have ratchet mom. So I'm like, would have sat up and said that she was out of pocket and unprofessional. So she protected Walmart from any lawsuits, but then she loses her job. Now stop and think about what Walmart is telling its employees. If you are inhumane and you are neglectful, then we're going to release a statement and fire you because we're going to try to keep the public's sympathy. But if you are humane and responsible and you record to keep us and yourself out of trouble, then we're going to fire you because you recorded. So all they're really saying is that you can't win for losing. You're wrong no matter what. That's what they're getting at. And the ratchet mom is sitting up, shouting everybody down and not letting anyone say anything to her so in other words, there's no use talking to the bitch. That's what she's saying. Don't even talk to me about what I'm doing. Little niggas got a pamper on. That's it. Shut up. Now, when people get like this, there are one or two reasons for it. Either way it goes, they can't take being told that something's wrong and that they did it. Now, for people to feel that way, they either have to feel that way because they didn't have a choice, They were overwhelmed, and that was the best they could do, so they don't want to hear anybody's mouth. Or the other option is that they just could not be bothered to do more, and so they don't want to hear about it. So either, in other words, they either can't listen to you because they can't stand to be told nothing, or they can't listen to you because they couldn't have done any better, and they're at their wits' end and frustrated. I'm in the latter category. You fuss at me about stuff that's beyond my control. I won't react like she did, twerking and stuff, but I'll shout you down. I won't let you finish your sentence because I could have done nothing better than what I did in the first mother cuss word place. I'm at my wits' end. I'm trying. I'll tell you, sometimes I've told people, you would make more sense going to fuss at God than you would to fuss at me. At least you make more logical sense. The question is just going to be, are you ready for that lightning bolt or not? Fact is, if I could call a lightning strike down on you, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't have said nothing if I was guilty. Here I am not guilty, can't control that, did my best. But since I don't control the lightning bolts, you want to come fuss at me instead of fussing at God. No, go fuss at him. I've had to tell some people stuff like that before because I really didn't have what it would have taken to do something better than what I did. I was doing my best. America's a society in which you're always at fault. You're always punished when you do right. And when you do wrong, you may or may not be, but when you do right, you're damn sure will. No good deed goes unpunished in the States. Everything you do is wrong, and every way you do it is the wrong way. That's what that employee learned. And I've seen that happen before, too. Corporate America's a bitch. I worked at a Kmart. Last job before I started college, working at a Kmart. Made a little money, saved up a little something. But here's the kicker. I remember a lady at this time, older lady, she was doing a job, and there was some inventory that had to be done, but Kmart was not willing to pay overtime. So she was fired if she didn't finish the job, but she was not allowed to charge overtime. So she was told to finish it, but then she was told if you keep charging over, if you keep staying overtime, we're going to let you go. They let her go anyway. What they wanted her to do was work for free. That's what they were looking for. They wanted her to just keep on going, just not report the overtime while she stayed overtime to finish the other job she had to finish, so they fire her for that. The Kmart was a mess. It was loosely run. It was starting to get picked apart by vultures. Now I went into the gardening center because I like the heat and humidity, especially back then. I did all right with it. But on the inside of the store, I began to realize that they were just stealing left and right. And I went back to visit the following summer after my freshman year in college. And my dad was joking. He said, man, you Negroes robbed that Kmart blind. You Negroes, teasing me. Like I had something to do with it. I ain't steal a mother cuss word thing out of there. I knew there were cameras and inventory control. And plus, of course, if I'd shown up at the house with anything stolen from a Kmart, he'd have whooped my behind. No, I ain't steal nothing from there, but he was joking anyway. But a bunch of people had stolen from that Kmart. That's the thing I'm getting at. But it was poorly run at this point. The branch manager, I know he was in trouble. And that branch manager, he was always looking for shortcuts. He called these meetings, and one day he said, some of y'all ain't been going out to get the shopping carts and bring them back inside. And I said, actually, sir, most of the time we do, but what happens is that the call comes in, the same employee number will be called, we'll go out and do it, but the second time, the same employee number is called. And the third time, the same employee number is called. So we see it as a repeat. There's a lag time in between us finishing, bringing all the carts back in, and y'all the announcer being aware of it. That's what's going on. He said, if we call y'all 4 times in a row, you get out there and do it again. Just do it 4 times. I said, okay. Those are the orders. Now, for the stocking that let's say if we're doing stocking at that time, do we get an extension? Nope, I didn't get to finish because he's a nigga. And I say it to this day. He was a barking and growling, stereotypical nigga with some power. That's who this branch manager was. I remember an episode of NYPD Blue where that big portly white detective character with the mustache was being barked at and growled at by his, I guess his the station chief or the precinct chief, not the chief of police, but the precinct, the one that ran whatever precinct he was coming out of. And he said, "My God, it's true what they say about you guys." And the man said, "Who do you mean by you guys? Black men with power? You know what? God damn it, that shit is right." Now, it's not so much the case in the black manosphere, because y'all ain't stereotypes. That's why I'm so proud of y'all. But I ain't gonna front. No, black America in general, back at that time during the 90s, was exactly like that. You get some brothers with some power, especially if they played a little football in high school and maybe pledged Q in college. They were not Omega men of the prior decades. They were Q dogs. Barking, growling niggas. And he was one of them. He was a little dude too. I don't blame him for being physically afraid to fight, because when he fired that lady for the what was that, for the overtime, it was her husband, boyfriend, or her son. One of them, they showed up to fight this dude. And when he realized that this was not a regular customer, but somebody coming to fight him, he was shaking. Somebody had to separate them, but he was shaking. I don't blame him for the fear. He felt he was little. That's probably why the dude didn't just kick him right then and there. And truth be told, he was a black man that was short, and he probably had to deal with a lot of flack for that. What's going on, sir? Black man had to deal with a lot of that going on most of his life. So I can understand why he might have had some attitude. But man, I'm gonna tell you, bro, this dude, he was a stereotype. And I wish that other dude had thrashed him, because what he was looking for was for her to just do the company a favor and just not report the overtime, so that they could get everything done without paying for it, and he'd make the store look good. No, shuck that fit. Fit all the way to guck out my face with that sure bit. That's where this dude was. And mind you, we're only talking about corporate America. Corporate America was bad back then, but you had a situation like this, sensationalized. She would not have been fired because she recorded and proved that she was acting professionally and that nobody was breaking rules or anything like that. But now you fast forward to today and look what's happened. So no, man. Where you all live is a cesspool. And it's becoming a third world country. There's no right way to go about it. And the whole world is watching, because with the US still being the capital of many sites of the internet, like YouTube, these companies, how's it going, sir? Good morning. These companies that are going through stuff like this, or doing these things to people, also being based stateside, well, local news outlets reports on them. Okay, but that's local news. However, if you live abroad and you want to see what's going on in your hometown, you find the YouTube website for your hometown's local news, and you will see what's going on. I just found out that some human remains were found within walking distance of where my parents live and where I grew up. A sort of natural playground where I used to play. Just recently. I don't know what to make of it, but that's what's going on. Yeah, that's what your man's is dealing with. This is what your man's is facing. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I can find this out through many means at this point. But see, other people that have not lived in the U.S. may simply not have an interest in following this. But when you have lived there, or you have a reason to watch what's going on there, maybe you're thinking of living in the States, you start paying attention to these things and watching the news. And you realize how different it was from when you grew up. My parents' neighborhood is becoming, well, my parents' neighborhood is generally safe. It's unknown. It's a well-kept secret in our city. Nice Huxtable neighborhood. Was. largely aged out now. You don't have that. You don't have very many young folks there anymore. That's the neighborhood. And the upkeep of these nice homes is, becoming crappier and crappier because the people are becoming too old to really look after the homes. And the young ones have moved out and they've had to, live on their own elsewhere in their own homes with their own kids. And you know what? I actually understand that. And I'll tell you why. We came up in a generation where you weren't allowed to live at home as an adult, especially if you were a male child. No, you get out there, get a job, live somewhere on your own. We'll visit you in these other cities, but you can't live here no more. You ain't no kid. You 18, you don't graduate high school. You're going to either go off to college and go away to college. Maybe you get to stay home. And mind you, the Gulf Coast is not really like that, like the rest of America, but the middle class black families were like that. Oh no, you're going to get out there and see the world. And to a certain extent, that's right. But when things got bad for people in my age group, parents still would say, well, I mean, you can come visit. They might even come in and help, but they would not welcome you back to live. My son's mother ain't trying to welcome him back. He's about to go back to the States to go back to his job so he can work and save up. And he understands, he can tell, you know what, she don't want him back yet. It ain't because she don't love him, but there's a part of her that's like, I don't care what the economy's like, I'm tired. So in any case, that's what America's become. So that situation where that mom walks in freezing cold temperatures and her baby's wearing a pamper and she puts cold food in the cart on top of the baby and then twerks because she don't want to listen to nothing. That's becoming America. That is America. That represents America right there. And the socially responsible employee that intervenes so as to not open up Walmart to a lawsuit for child neglect or something of that nature and records it to prove the case, gets fired because Walmart is embarrassed that it happened in their store. So now everybody's like, well, it's going to happen. We just don't want it to happen in our store or on our premises. Premise liability is a major thing here. And that's because the United States is a very legally litigious society. Everyone's got a lawsuit. And with the economy being what it is, people have more of a financial incentive to start suing. And I get sick and tired of that. It gets to a point where nobody's allowed to do their job. I know as a teacher, long time ago in the States, y'all know how that, that was over a decade. Everything was a lawsuit. Didn't matter. If you were a teacher, I mean, that's an impossible job in the United States. We can talk about that in another show. How do you teach in the United States effectively? You don't. If the kids don't like you, they ain't going to like you if you make them work. So if they don't, then you can't teach in America. So how do you do it? You don't. That's it. You don't. So why even take the job? I let my U.S. teaching certificate expire, and I'm never going to renew it in the United States. I show employers here that I used to have one. I did, and I tell them I let it expire because I was not in the United States anymore. And if they asked me to go back and get another one, I'd say no. My dad's trying to talk to me about teaching in the States, and I said, nope, Dad, look, 18, I had to leave home, right? Okay, I did. Well, this is what it means. Now I got my home in another country. I mean, a damn sure ain't in the States. I can't stay in Saudi forever, but a damn sure ain't in the United States either. It's not there. So guess what, Dad? I can't teach in the U.S. I'm not going to try to go back. That's the consequence. I can't live at home when times get hard, or what you call at home, fair enough. But what that also means is that when times get hard for you, I'm not bound to go back. Ain't my job. And that's the other thing that's going to be facing a lot of people in the States. That's the other issue. So you're looking at a crumbling, but this one video, a few minutes of this one video actually shows many elements of the crumbling from within. I don't want to take too long to talk about it, but you can understand how many things are shown in that one particular video. And I thank S Jacques for sending that to me. It didn't just hit home because it was in Mississippi. It hit home because it was in the South at all, because it was in Black America. Thank you all for listening, and I hope that what I've said benefits you. As always, black heart, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, black heterosexual, non-select male power because they don't like it, black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you again for flying with us on Jet Black Airways, where jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. And in a few days' time, when February starts, so-called Black History Month starts, I invite you all to join the first class Flyers Club of Jet Black Airways, the Black Treon account. At that point, it will be a full 10 for the membership. Again, thank you all. Gender justice forever.